Let's dig deep. Lewis, there's a very disturbing story that's continuing to develop around Tucker Carlson. Last week on his show, Tucker alleged that he was being spied on by the NSA, our own federal government.
Yeah, he said they're reading his emails because apparently he was seeking out an interview.
At first, he didn't say why they were reading his email. They just said they were reading his email.
But he said that no one knew the content of these particular emails other than him and his executive producer. And they had been reaching out to...
Well, I'll tell you what. Before we jump ahead to that, let me...
Okay.
At first, he said the government was spying on him. And the NSA put out a statement, which is rare for them to do. And they kind of denied what Tucker was saying. They put out a tweet that said, Tucker Carlson has never been an intelligence target of the agency, and the NSA has never had any plans to take his program off the air. Notice their statement didn't say they hadn't read his emails, and it didn't say they hadn't leaked his emails to his competitors, which is what Tucker was alleging on air.
Well, these were the same folks that said that they weren't spying on President Trump when he was running for president.
The exact same people. All right, so then last night, Tucker said this on air.
Late this spring, I contacted a couple of people I thought could help get us an interview with Russian President Vladimir Putin. I told nobody I was doing this other than my executive producer, Justin Wells. I wasn't embarrassed about trying to interview Putin. He's obviously newsworthy. I'm an American citizen. I can interview anyone I want, and I plan to. But still, in this case, I decided to keep it quiet. I figured that any kind of publicity would rattle the Russians and make the interview less likely to happen. But the Biden administration found out anyway by reading my emails. I learned from a whistleblower that the NSA planned to leak the contents of those emails to media outlets. Why would they do that? Well, the point, of course, was to paint me as a disloyal American, a Russian operative, been called that before, a stooge of the Kremlin, a traitor doing the bidding of a foreign adversary. And of course, I'm hardly the only person who's been accused of those things in the last several years. We've seen this movie several times now.
So Tucker was trying to interview Vladimir Putin. Putin is a legitimate target of a news organization because he's the head of state of another nation. Now, Tucker didn't do anything wrong there. Indeed, Putin has actually been interviewed by numerous other U.S. big media companies, including ABC, CBS, NBC, and CNN. That's not the problem. The problem is the NSA leaked Tucker's name and the contents of his emails to other news agencies.
Okay, but that's allegedly they did those things,
right?
right?
Here's what Tucker said.
By law, the NSA is required to keep secret the identities of American citizens who've been caught up in its vast domestic spying operations. So by law, I should have been identified internally merely as a U.S. journalist or American journalist. That's the law. But that's not how I was identified. I was identified by name. I was unmasked. People in the building learned who I was. And then my name and the contents of my emails left that building at the NSA and wound up with a news organization in Washington.
Okay, as you point out, this is allegedly, right?
Because a lot of folks are going to say Tucker Carlson is just a paranoid, right-winger. He always thinks the government, the deep state is out to get him.
And I'm like you. I tend to be skeptical, even of people I like, because I know all of us are flawed. And I like to try and check. I'm not interested in your truth. I'm not interested in my truth. I'm interested in the truth, right?
I would be very disappointed if Tucker was putting this out there and he didn't actually know what he's alleging to be true.
So I started looking at how other news agencies were covering the story. ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, and MSNBC aren't covering it at all. Not a peep.
No, why would they want to bring more attention to Tucker Carlson, who's getting the
ratings,
highest
top
ratings in cable news history?
Well, they should report on it because if this is true, then the government could do it to them and probably is doing it to them. Now, Newsweek is reporting on it. Here's how Newsweek wrote about it. Quote, this is the first sentence of the article. Fox News host Tucker Carlson confirmed on his show Wednesday that earlier reports he was attempting to set up an interview with Russian President Vladimir Putin were correct. What the hell? That's what you got out of this? Notice how Newsweek's first sentence in their article corroborates Tucker's main claim, that his emails were leaked by the NSA to other news agencies in an attempt to discredit him. That's exactly the tone of Newsweek's top line. Earlier reports he was attempting to set up an interview with Putin means Newsweek found out about those attempts somehow before Tucker mentioned it in his on-air last night.
But they're catering to their readers. Their readers hearing that, reading that first sentence, they automatically think that he's in cahoots
with Russia. So is Newsweek actually complicit in the illegal activity by the NSA in helping them spy on a federal journalist? What the hell, Newsweek?
No, that's just...
Why aren't you more concerned that Tucker was trying to interview Putin than you are that the federal government was actively spying on an American journalist in violation of the law, in violation of the Constitution?
But, Steve, the point's well taken, but who's reading Newsweek?
Okay.
I mean, they stopped publishing that, 10 years ago?
But remember this statement from Chuck Schumer in late 2016, just before Donald Trump took office.
To take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you.
That's what he said on Rachel Maddow, who's not, by the way, covering how the NSA is trying to get back at Tucker Carlson. The Democrats weaponized our nation's intelligence agencies, the FBI, CIA, and the NSA. Those are now the political tools of the Democrat Party, and they are filled with Democrat Party operatives. You can add the IRS to that list. They have 6 ways to Sunday of getting back at conservatives. And right now, their favorite tactic appears to be accusing conservatives of Russian collusion. And this is from the same party that just allowed Putin to build his Nord Stream pipeline while killing the XL pipeline.
Yeah, you know who else you can add to that list? Google, Facebook, Twitter. That's the basis of President Trump's latest lawsuit against big tech.
The party of projection strikes again. Republicans and conservatives have got to fight back against this. I believe Tucker Carlson, I believe the NSA has committed a violent crime here, and people need to go to jail.